But welcome to our App Academy.
We have Chris from Fanatical joining us. Are you ready, Chris?
Hi, yes, Amy, can you see me okay?
Everything looks good on my end.
Okay. I'm going to go and share my screen. Yep, and can you see my screen?
Still starting. Hold on 1 second. There we go. Now we see your slide.
Okay, very cool. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for joining. And yeah, just to the next session. And this one is about, just how to refresh your QuickBooks Online data live and directly in Excel. So my name's Chris Meyer. The company is Fanatical Software. And just what we do is, and our purpose is really is to also help, businesses make better decision making and through financial analysis. And so I'm one of the founders, and along with my co-founder, Sean Pendrich, we've actually been in the CPA and space, for the past 45 years in building software for accountants. We previously did it for another company that built integration to Oracle and SAP, so more in the enterprise space. And but yeah, now we've decided to actually do it for QuickBooks Online, and just recognizing also the growing just the amount of folks adopting QBO and then also the online versions. And so what we essentially aim to be, and what we have found as feedback, is that we're the #1 Excel add-in to QBO for efficiency, speed, and ease of use. We do have venture capital backing, so a company called VC called Born Capital. They're supporting us, and so they're also leading tech, CFO tech investors. We're incorporated, about 2 years ago, headquartered out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and we are Microsoft partners, both Intuit and then also because of Excel, Microsoft partners as well. So QBO reporting challenges, right? I think so. QBO is, QuickBooks Online, definitely has a great number of functions. And but yeah, as soon as we get to some financial analysis and we want to do something extra than just basic P&L and balance sheet, right, there's a couple of things that start tripping us up. And so listed here are a couple of them. I think, just custom calculations, or just maybe adding more columns, just in terms of doing various comparisons, actuals versus budget, or different types of periods. We find that challenging. And then I think the other part is obviously, with browser-based applications or browser-based reporting tools, they have great benefits. But, when you want to do additional calculations, then, they also start running into some limitations. And so what we do is, our focus and commitment has definitely been to Excel. So Excel is still the #1 widely used tool and most adopted application across the accounting world, across the globe. Just on LinkedIn, we have 75 million people, listing Excel as a skill, in 1.1 billion, Office users globally, and it's still a very powerful data analysis tool. And it's, and it's also continuously improving. We've been working with Excel for the past 20 years, and it has fundamentally improved, exponentially over the years. With Flash reports, we're combining, the power of Excel, and leveraging that with Flash reports and bringing in your QuickBooks data directly into Excel with the use of Flash reports. Architecturally, we seamlessly integrate to Excel. We're fast, efficient. We're actually very easy to use. It's scalable, and essentially it's a plug-and-play solution. So what I'll demonstrate to you now very quickly is just how quickly you can run your own report essentially in under 10 minutes. So we're a direct connection to QBO. You can head to our website, you subscribe, you do the install of the Excel add-in, what I'll essentially just show you now how to find it, and you can import your first report, and I'll actually show you, exactly what you would be able to do as well. There's no middleware, data or any other data warehouse between us and QBO. So if you refresh data or do a journal posting in QBO, it'll immediately refresh, just in Flash in Excel as well. Couple of customers, some comments, and just some just use cases, some various use cases and across the various industries. And so, non-profits, we see very much non-standard board reporting. That is very much a use case. Some overhead calculations and allocations, franchises, multi-entity reporting. I'll show you very quickly some reporting, just on that as well. Property management, multi-entity reporting, consolidations. In construction, there's many times also just pulling in projects, so we can do projects reporting, some cost estimation, some various use cases within the application. And so I think just before we proceed into demo time, I think because we're essentially an Excel-based tool, maybe Amy, I think let's maybe just quickly ask the folks here, just in terms of Excel, just how many times do you find yourself taking data from Excel, from QBO and wanting to export that to Excel. So if you can just quickly answer that poll for us, and then we'll continue to a demo.
We do have 2 questions if you want to answer them now while we're doing the poll.
Sure. Yes, absolutely.
Does it integrate with QBDT?
No, we actually only work with QBO. Yep. So QuickBooks Online, unfortunately.
And does Fanatical Consolidations handle multi-currency?
So that's coming in a subsequent feature. So at the moment now, we're just adopting the currencies as they are, within QBO.
All right, and here we go with the results. Frequently is number 1.
Okay, all right. Very cool. Okay, and Amy, you can see my screen at the moment. Is that correct?
Yes, I can see Excel, or your Excel.
Very cool. All right, well, very cool. So what I've got here, and so, I'm basically just said, this is a standard Excel sheet, right? And so just to get to this add-in, what we'll do here is, just to find it, you actually just go out here to the App Store, the Microsoft App Store, and you just basically go and click on there, search on Flash Reports. There's Flash Reports, and you just click on Add, and away, that installs that over here. This creates this ribbon, and then so what I'm going to do is just quickly connect to QuickBooks, and I am going to connect just one company again. So we log on using our username and password, and so from an authentication perspective and responsibilities, obviously everything, we just adopted, as it's specified, within QBO. We cache a little bit of data, just a bit of master data, some global settings at the company level. And so now we're creating that direct connection between Flash Reports, between the Excel add-in and QBO. And so just in my example over here, so what I've got connected, I've got 3 companies connected here now. So Wayne, Parker, and all 3 of them. And later on, I'll do a little multi-entity report, that will actually reference all 3 companies. But the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to actually just import a report or use our template builder just to bring in a report, and then we'll make some changes, and I'll just explain, just the concept to you. So I'm going to select here, and let's just build a report here, and I'm just going to put in some data from last year. So this is a template builder. And so over here now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in just a basic P&L for the company, and I'm going to use this function called create functions, and this is going to create a formula in each cell for me. So let me do that, and I'm click import. And so now it's gone away, sent over a query to QBO, found the results, found my income statement, and it's brought it back into Microsoft Excel. So with that create import feature, create functions, what we've done now is created this formula. And this formula then essentially, this makes use of cell referencing to populate this formula and that when we refresh this formula, then, it'll go back and find new values in QuickBooks Online. So if we just think, if I want to go and find new values in QBO, what do I need to tell this formula? I need to tell the formula, first of all, let's think, just what company, right? What company code do I want values for? And so there we can see this formula is referencing cell A1 and saying, I want, values for company, stock industries. I've got to tell it a start and an end date, right? So my start date and my end date, and there we can see B3, B4. So B3, B4. I'm telling it, okay, what periods do I want it for? I have to tell it as well, actual versus budget values, right? And so in cell B5, I'm telling this formula, look at that cell, and in that cell, we're saying actual. So I want actual values, for this period. And then obviously I've got to go and reference, with account, what account do I want it for? And we're saying, telling the formula, go and look in cell A8, and there go and find the values for, for design income. And so we can see each one of these cells, right, has this formula in it. And so there, so now if we go and change this parameter, so because these cells reference, let's say this, B3 is for a date parameter, if I then go and change that, and I'm just going to type in this year and I'll just press enter. So now you can see that all these cells have essentially refreshed, right? And it's, brought in new values. So I can either just type in a value, or I can actually just go here to my filters function and what we call just list of values. And then this is all my date parameters, as they are, within QBO. And I can go and change that, let's say, to last year. And there you could have seen, just those values, just refresh as well. So that is just very quickly just explaining the concept of the formula. But this creates, with this formula, it creates a lot of flexibility. Because now I can, if I want to build my report or extend on this report, I can use standard Excel functionality to just expand on that. So I'm just going to copy over this formula, in this whole column. And let's just say there I'm going to do, so column 2, right? I've just created that over. And let's just say now this one, I'm going to change that. That was last year. And let's just say I'm going to change that to this year, right? So this is maybe this formula over there. Now, just very quickly, create a comparison. So this is standard Excel, right? So there's nothing proprietary to us, and say nothing too complicated. So there we've done a little variance, comparison as well. I can do, Excel, percentage calculations in there as well. What a number of our customers also do know or need is maybe just to do alternative combinations and, certain comparisons as well. So as an example, I might also actually now want to change and have a look at my budget values as well, right? So an actual versus budget. And so that's for this year. So then I can bring in my budget values as well, right? And do a comparison against that. If I want to just copy this one over, so obviously that shows this year, which is, this is just a demo workbook. But let's just say I also want to bring in this year to last month's data, right? So I can also just do that as well. And so now, because we're in end of May, it'll bring in data up until the end of April. So come next month, let's just say I've used this as a date parameter. I can save this. This is a standard Excel file. So come next month, all that I need to do and open up the sheet, and I just click on this refresh over here. And then this will essentially then go and refresh, all of these values for me as well, including my custom calculations over here. So in terms of the column reporting, so there's, I'll say the options and the variations are essentially limitless. I have used some dates in here, but I can also use just custom dates, in here as well, and just say, hey, basically, I just want, let's say, 415.2024, right? So I also don't need to specifically specify certain dates. You can just use custom dates in there as well. So all of that is possible. In terms of combining maybe different accounts and calculations, I can also just insert different rows or columns at any level, right? And so here, I can actually just insert just a different calculation as well. And so let's just say here, besides my spelling over there, but let's just say I want to do percentage calculation, right, of that one. And this could be a margin calculation or anything like that. Right there, I'm now very quickly can bring that across, right, and just do margin calculations. And then, of course, if I change any parameters, right, all my calculated values automatically change and update as well. So this is just how the product really integrates totally with Excel. And you can combine the data directly from Excel, with any type of reports that you want to build, just right here in Excel. So many times, I think we just heard in that poll, folks export to Excel, right? I've got a specific format that I like, that I built, and I want to add some calculations. I export it to Excel, but next month when I, when I want a fresh set of data, I'm doing the whole process again. You don't need to redo that process here. So you start off maybe with an initial import. You can start off with a trend report and you build it, and next month comes, you're essentially just refreshing it. Just before I move on, to show you some additional things, let's just say in this is an example, right? I mean, I'm basically, let's say there's a big variance, and I want to see maybe what the details are that make up this specific value. And if I want to see that, all I need to do here is just come and click on the drill down button. And so when I click on the drill down button, that then passes another query over to QBO, right? And it then goes and finds just those values over there. And so there we can see, right, I'm 132,000, but here is just now all my detail. Obviously, my demo workbook, I don't have that much data, but if you had thousands of entries and you maybe want to look for a big value or any type of outliers, now because this is Excel, you've immediately got, right, Excel, all the standard features of Excel available to you. I can create a pivot table, take this chart, and immediately work with all of that as well. And so that is, essentially just available, to you as well. All right. So then the next thing is just in terms of the various types of reports. What do most of our customers use? So the various use cases is, for example, just here we can see. We can report on classes, projects, and departments, locations as well. So this example over here is now where I've got a class report. And so all my classes are essentially specified here in row 6. And now my formula essentially goes and reads the class, right, that I specified here in row 6. And from a date parameter perspective, all of these formulas in the report essentially point to that start and end date, that I have in B3 and B4. So let's just say now, right, I want to change that period now. I can now go and do a comparison and say maybe I changed that from last year, to this quarter. There you can see, right, I mean, I think it maybe hopefully it didn't happen too fast, but there you can actually see those values refreshing over there as well. And I'm just going to do it again. I'll maybe just type it in here this time, but I'll quickly do that. See last quarter, I press refresh, right, then we can see just those values refreshing as well. So for any type of comparison report, we can see that, you set it up once, build it once, and then you can just refresh it. This report, as an example as well, I think is very many times used, and along with a drill down, is, to check postings as an example. I don't have non-specified postings here in my demo data, because it's probably demo data, right? But in real life, we find a lot of entries over there, and then, and then we can run this report. And then if I see a non-specified there, I just click on the drill down, see which entries. Okay, do we know which ones we need to go back and go and fix in QBO and assign them to specific classes? Big use case as well, and is just, for example, I want to group different classes together. And so here, I've got a Marvel series, different types of classes, i.e. product lines, and we use as product lines. But let's just say I've got these classes now, I want to say my Panther, Black Widow, I want to add those two classes together to get to a total. So this is standard Excel, nothing proprietary to us. I want to add those two together, group those together. And here I want to add these two, let's say the captain range, I want to group them together. Excuse the cheesy image over there, but, so the point, I want to bring across here is essentially just if I go and change this date, so all of these cells now reference that as my date parameter. I can go and, basically, pull data in for different dates, and all my formatting and everything remains intact as well, right? So if we think, just, there's some other tool that, essentially just if you refresh data, it overwrites all your data and all your formatting. If you have a look at my numbering over here, right, my numbering remains intact, right? So it's, and let me just change that, right? So if you only have a specific type of number formatting, it all remains intact, images, everything else as well. And I can also break up this income statement into various types of calculations, EBITDAs, cash on cash calculations, depending on your specific use cases. So that's what we see just with classes, just as very much, just as a use case as well. Many of our other organizations, we have is where, for example, I have run a report per class, or it can be per department as well, right? So, but in this example over here is that, my formula now essentially references whichever class I specify here in B3. And just what I'm pulling in is both actual budget and a bit of a variance calculation. And then I'm pulling in, just that data, over there as well. And so here we can see, I can basically, using my list of values function on my right-hand side, I've got a whole number of classes, right? And for my classes in QBO that I can select from. And so there, if I switch, I just selected Avengers, right? And it basically updated and brought in actual versus budget data, variance calculations. I can also essentially go and select multiple values as well. So I can group, some of those together to pull, data, in together as well. So all of those are options that are very much available to me. And so for the folks there, I know, even from a projects perspective as well. So I think folks, on the call might actually be using projects, even maybe from a job costing perspective or a WIP analysis perspective, or maybe for, grants, any type of grants reporting as well. So, the objects that we're able to report on is essentially, customers, grants, projects, classes, departments. In this example over here, this is now, for example, just where I have, Amy's Bird Sanctuary. This, was we created this essentially as, these are projects over here. So these are all the reporting categories. Projects and customers are essentially the same. And so when I go and have a look at that, now I'm just switching between different types of projects, so they're, able to select between them. Maybe just going to go and deselect. Let's take this one over here. So I'm just going to select on the right cell there, and let's maybe just have a look at that. And then we can see, right, so from a project perspective, all of that is essentially just updated as well. The next thing is here is just, maybe to show, from a multi-entity reporting perspective. So this is just a multi-entity report as an example. And so here I've just combined, multi-entity report with a bit of, let's say our own logos and a bit of coloring, some tiles, performance tiles, and some graphs as well. And so what I've got here now, so all my formulas, and on the left-hand side, I've just used standard Excel groupings, right? And so these are just the groupings that are available in standard Excel, not proprietary to us. And I'm just going to expand this maybe to the lowest level. And just to show you, so at the lowest level, my income statement is what I'm seeing here, right? So now my formula is referencing, picking up, my company there from cell B7, right? And so this in column B, my company comes from B7. For this one, basically comes from C7, right? So it's picking up Parker Industries. And so here I'm picking up, my formula, from Wayne Enterprises here in D7. And so here I'm, bringing in different data. So if I go and change this, I'm just going to type it in this here. So immediately now we can see like all my data is essentially refreshing, right? And I've got all of that refreshed. I've got a bit of a graph here, some graphs, and I've got some tiles, from gross margin perspective that has been updated as well. But it's, I've got my whole income statement that I've essentially built as well. That's then refreshable on demand. And on my left-hand side, with my grouping functionality in Excel, I can navigate now between the different levels, right? So lowest level was level 4, but I can go, to level 2, and then ultimately here to level 1. You can see those values essentially just refreshing as well, right? As I'm navigating through the different levels. Okay, yep. So I think that, so that's multi-entity reporting, but essentially all the functionality is available in exactly the same way. All of that is there. And we can very much, just report on that. An exciting new feature, or maybe just close off with this, is that, I think one of the things that we've had, some of our customers essentially asked for as well is it's just this ability, to be able to report on cash versus accrual, I'm going to say in the same sheet. And so this is a new feature that's, we're basically just releasing now. So let's just say here in column B, for the same company, the same period, I essentially, column A, I want to have a look at my, my values, income statement based on the accruals. And in column B, or sorry, column C, I maybe actually just want to have a look at it, on a cash basis. And so here we can just see, obviously, these results, right? I'm pretty, we haven't had too many receipts in here, except for the expenses, right? That's a bit of a demo database. But I know just the number of our, our customers and, are very happy, just to be able to have, this available. So just within one sheet and just be able to compare, just any results for any of these entities, cash versus accrual. So yeah, Amy, I think that maybe brings us almost to the top of my time there. I think so anything. So just from our website perspective, right? I think just, this is our website, fanaticalsoftware.com. Next step is very much, I think so from a pricing perspective, is we're basically just charge $15 per month, per entity. You can come here, start a 14-day, free trial. If you essentially start off a free trial, what you're able to do is do what I do. I challenge you within 10 minutes, right? If you're to be able to just download the software, create the subscription, you can download the software and you can import and build your own reports in exactly the same way that I just did now. So with that, Amy, thank you very much. Thank you, Insightful Accountant. Very grateful, I think, to be able to be here, and thank you very much all for attending.
Thanks, Chris. We do have a couple of questions for you. Will you be at Scaling New Heights?
Yes, absolutely. Yep. So we are one of the participants and the exhibitors at Scaling New Heights. Yep.
And do I need multiple logins for my different clients, or can I just switch between client QBO accounts?
Absolutely. So you can just switch between client QBO accounts. So essentially, when you do your initial logon, your logon as a provider is, would be different to mine. You'd have an initial logon that'll be but you'd immediately be able to log on to, all your clients' accounts. And so essentially, just from you would just need multiple subscriptions, obviously. So, so this licensing is per QuickBooks connection. So if you had 10 entities, you just have to have, 10, a license for 10 entities. Yeah, but you'd be able to log on once.
And last but not least, does this work with Microsoft Excel for Mac 16.85?
So I'm not exactly sure about, that version number, but, but we have actually on our website, or even maybe on the Microsoft App Store, we do have Mac customers as well. So, so we are compatible with Mac. And if that is the latest version, most definitely is, I don't know how far it goes back. So we might just have to check on that. But yeah, we do.